Louisiana feels different. Not just the heat that hangs heavy even after sunset, or the way the Spanish moss drapes everything in a kind of ancient mourning. It is something deeper, something in the water itself. The bayous here have witnessed centuries of human history. French settlers, Spanish colonizers, enslaved Africans, Native American nations who called these swamps home for millennia before anyone else arrived. Each left their mark on the land. But some things in these bayous are older than all of them. Lock your doors, put on your headphones, because after this video, you will never look at Louisiana's swamps the same way again. The first mystery sits approximately 40 miles southwest of New Orleans in a stretch of bayou that locals simply call the Dead Zone. Not because anything died there, at least not that anyone knows of, but because of what happens to equipment when you enter. In 2018, a team of wildlife researchers from Louisiana State University was conducting a routine water quality survey in the basin between Lake Salvador and Lac des Allemands. Their GPS units began acting strangely around 3:47 p.m. The coordinates would drift, then jump, then freeze entirely. Dr. Rachel Fontenot, the team leader, noted in her field report that their compasses were spinning slowly clockwise, completing a full rotation approximately every 90 seconds. This continued for the 47 minutes they remained in the zone. Standard magnetic anomalies can cause compass deviation, but spinning? That requires a rotating magnetic field, something that does not occur naturally in swamp environments. When the team attempted to document the phenomenon with their phones, every device lost battery power simultaneously, not drained over time, instantly. One moment they had 60 to 80% charge, the next, dead. The LSU research office logged the incident as equipment malfunction, but when the team tried to return to the same coordinates 2 weeks later, their GPS could not locate the area. The position existed on maps, but somehow the satellites could not find it. One researcher, a graduate student who later transferred out of the program, told a local journalist off the record that she had seen lights beneath the water during the battery drain, faint greenish luminescence that pulsed in patterns that felt deliberate. When the journalist tried to contact the LSU research department for comment, they said no such survey had ever been conducted in that location. But the field reports exist. I have seen copies. Someone did not want this story told, and if equipment failure can be dismissed as coincidence, what happened at Honey Island cannot be explained away so easily. The Honey Island swamp lies northeast of New Orleans, one of the least accessible and most pristine wetlands in North America. Approximately 70,000 acres of nearly impenetrable cypress forest, home to black bears, wild boar, and according to local legend, something else. In 1963, a local trapper named Harlan Ford claimed to have discovered unusual tracks in the mud near an area known as the Devil's Pocket. The track showed a three-toed foot approximately 18 inches long with webbing between the digits. Ford documented the tracks with photographs and plaster casts. He returned to the area dozens of times over the following decades, collecting more evidence and taking more photographs, recording sounds that he claimed came from something living in the deepest parts of the swamp. Most people dismissed him as a hoaxer or someone seeking attention, but Ford was a retired air traffic controller with no history of fabrication and nothing to gain from the story. He never sought money or fame, he simply documented what he found. Here is what makes this strange. In 1974, Louisiana Wildlife and Fisheries conducted a survey of the Devil's Pocket region. Their official report mentioned unusual track castings found in the area that did not match any known Louisiana species. The report was classified as internal only and never published. A wildlife officer who worked that survey, now long retired, told researchers in 2019 that the team had been instructed to avoid the northeast quadrant of the search grid entirely. No reason given, just an order from above. What was in the northeast quadrant that required avoidance? Whatever it was, locals have reported strange encounters in that area for generations. Not the Honey Island monster itself necessarily, but something. Lights moving through the trees at night. Sounds that do not match any known animal. The feeling of being watched from somewhere just beyond the tree line. One fishing guide, a man named Pierre Arsenault who had worked those waters for 40 years, refused to take clients past certain boundaries after dark. When asked why, he would only say that some parts of the swamp belonged to something else, and a smart man knew when he was not welcome. Pierre disappeared in 2021. His boat was found adrift near the Devil's Pocket with the motor still running. No sign of struggle. No evidence of foul play. His body was never recovered. The official conclusion was accidental drowning, but his family maintains that Pierre could swim better than anyone they knew, and he never would have entered those waters alone at night. Not willingly. The third mystery takes us deeper into the Atchafalaya Basin, the largest river swamp in North America, where something even stranger has been documented. In 1982, a logging survey team working for a timber company discovered what appeared to be man-made stone structures submerged in a remote section of the basin that had been inaccessible for decades due to flooding patterns. The structures consisted of stacked stone walls forming rectangular enclosures, each approximately 30 feet by 20 feet. There were at least 6 of them, arranged in a pattern that suggested deliberate planning. The timber company reported the find to the Louisiana State Historic Preservation Office. A small archaeological team was dispatched to investigate. What they found raised more questions than it answered. The stone used in the walls was not native to the region. Analysis suggested it had been quarried from deposits more than 200 miles away, in what is now central Texas. This would have required transporting heavy stone across open water or through some of the most difficult terrain in the South. More troubling was the estimated age. Based on sedimentation patterns and the degree of subsidence, the lead archaeologist estimated the structures could be anywhere from 4,000 to 6,000 years old. That predates the earliest known mound-building cultures in Louisiana by at least 2,000 years. No known Native American culture in the region built with quarried stone. The technique was essentially unknown in the southeastern United States until European contact. So, who built these structures? And how did they transport stone from Texas to a Louisiana swamp 5,000 years before recorded history? The archaeological team requested funding for a comprehensive excavation. Their request was denied. The site was deemed not historically significant. 6 mysterious stone structures, potentially older than the Egyptian pyramids, built with techniques unknown to any regional culture, using materials transported from hundreds of miles away. Not significant. The timber company was told to proceed with their logging survey. When researchers tried to return to the site 10 years later, the flooding patterns had shifted. The structures were buried under 15 feet of sediment and standing water. No one has accessed them since, but that was not the last time ancient stone construction was found in Louisiana's waterways. In 2007, an amateur archaeologist named Gerald Doucet was exploring a dried section of Bayou Lafourche during an unusual drought year. The water levels had dropped so low that areas normally submerged were exposed for the first time in decades. Doucet found what appeared to be a stone-paved road, approximately 8 feet wide, running for at least 300 yards before disappearing back under the waterline in both directions. The stones were fitted together without mortar, using a technique similar to ancient Roman roads but with stone types not found anywhere in Louisiana. Some showed evidence of tool marks that suggested advanced cutting methods. Doucet documented everything with photographs and contacted the state archaeology office. They told him he was probably looking at discarded ballast stones from colonial-era ships. Except ballast stones are not cut and fitted together. They are rough, irregularly shaped, and dumped randomly. These stones showed deliberate shaping and placement. Doucet tried to get academic attention for his find. Every university he contacted declined to investigate. The site was too remote. The evidence was inconclusive. There was no funding available. When the rains returned and water levels rose, the road disappeared again. Doucet spent the rest of his life trying to convince someone to take it seriously. He died in 2019 without ever seeing an official investigation. His photographs still exist. The coordinates are documented. The evidence is waiting for someone willing to look. But here is the thing. These stone anomalies are not isolated incidents. They are part of a pattern that spans the entire Louisiana coast. In 2011, a hurricane exposed a section of coastal marsh near Grand Isle that had been submerged for centuries. Fishermen reported seeing what looked like a stone wall extending into the Gulf of Mexico, visible for only a few days before silt and sand covered it again. In 2016, sonar surveys conducted by an oil company in Vermilion Bay detected geometric anomalies on the seafloor at depths that would have been dry land during the last ice age, approximately 12,000 years ago. In 2022, a diving team exploring a sinkhole in the Kazachi National Forest discovered carved stone blocks at a depth of 60 feet. The blocks showed evidence of deliberate placement, not natural formation. Every single one of these discoveries was classified as not significant or logged as natural formations requiring no further study. Someone is working very hard to make sure Louisiana's ancient mysteries stay buried. The fifth mystery brings us back to the surface, to something that happens in the bayous that no stone structure can explain. For generations, locals along Bayou Teche have reported seeing lights over the water, not reflected lights from houses or boats. These move with purpose, changing direction against the wind, hovering in place, sometimes following people who watch them. The phenomenon has dozens of names: faux fallout, swamp lights, ghost fires. Most scientists dismiss them as swamp gas, methane released from decomposing organic matter that sometimes ignites spontaneously. But here is the problem with that explanation. Swamp gas does not hover in place. It rises and dissipates. It does not change direction. It does not follow people. In 2015, a team of atmospheric scientists from Tulane University installed monitoring equipment along a 5-mile stretch of Bayou Teche where sightings were most frequented. Over 18 months, they documented 47 distinct light events. Their findings were strange. The lights showed no spectral signature consistent with burning methane. They did not produce measurable heat. They did not follow convection patterns. Most inexplicably, they appeared to respond to observation. The scientists noted that lights would change direction when someone pointed a camera at them, moving to positions where documentation was impossible. This is not a random natural phenomenon. This is intelligent, evasive behavior. The Tulane team published their findings in an obscure atmospheric science journal. It received almost no attention from mainstream media. But locals did not need a scientific study to tell them what they already knew. A man named René Bro, who had lived along Bayou Teche his entire 83 years, told researchers that his grandmother had warned him about the lights when he was a child. She had called them the lost ones, spirits of people who died in the swamp and never found their way out. René did not know if his grandmother was right about what the lights were, but he knew they were real. He had seen them himself, dozens of times over the decades. Once, he said, a light followed his boat for nearly a mile. It stayed exactly 30 feet behind him, matching his speed perfectly, whether he accelerated or slowed down. When he cut his engine and let the boat drift, the light stopped too. When he started moving again, it followed. Finally, René turned his boat around and motored directly toward it. The light held its position for a few seconds, then shot straight up into the sky and disappeared. His voice shook when he told that story. Not from fear exactly, from something else. From the knowledge that some things in this world do not have explanations we are equipped to understand. René died in 2020. His family says he was still seeing the lights until his final weeks. Some mysteries do not end when we stop watching them. The sixth and final mystery might be the most disturbing of all, because it suggests that whatever is in Louisiana's bayous is not just ancient, it is still active. In 2023, a group of 4 kayakers entered a remote section of the Pearl River Wildlife Management Area for a planned 3-day expedition. They were experienced outdoorsmen, well-equipped, familiar with the terrain. On the second night, they made camp on a small island approximately 8 miles from the nearest road. Their GPS coordinates placed them in an area that wildlife officers called inaccessible, except by water. Around 2:30 a.m., according to one survivor's account, they were awakened by what sounded like drumming. Deep, rhythmic percussion coming from somewhere in the swamp. Not animal sounds. Not thunder. Drums. The drumming continued for approximately 15 minutes, then stopped abruptly. That's when they heard the singing. The survivor, a man named Marcus Thibodeau, described it as multiple voices, not quite human, singing in a language he did not recognize. The voices seemed to be moving, circling the island. Marcus wanted to leave immediately. His companions convinced him to wait until dawn. No one slept for the rest of the night. At first light, they discovered that their kayaks had been moved. All 4 boats, which had been pulled well above the waterline and secured, were now floating 50 yards offshore. Their paddles were missing. They spent the next 4 hours recovering the kayaks and fashioning replacement paddles from branches. When they finally left the island, Marcus noticed something carved into a tree at the water's edge. Symbols, not letters he recognized. Not Native American petroglyphs he had seen in museums. Something else. He photographed them before leaving. When Marcus later showed the photographs to a linguistics professor at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, the professor said the symbols bore a passing resemblance to pre-Columbian South American script, a writing system that had never been found in North America. How would 5,000-year-old South American writing end up carved on a tree in a Louisiana swamp? The professor could not explain it. No one could. Marcus tried to return to the island twice in the following months to document more evidence. Both times, he could not find it. The coordinates he had logged led to open water. No island visible anywhere. He is certain he recorded the location correctly. He showed me the GPS data himself. The numbers have not changed, but the island is not there anymore. Or maybe it was never there at all. Maybe something in the bayou showed them what it wanted them to see, then took it back when they left. Some of the other kayakers refused to discuss the expedition at all. One has moved out of Louisiana entirely. The 4th member of the group, a woman named Christine Dugas, told her family she was returning to the Pearl River in late 2023 to prove to herself that there was a rational explanation. She never came back. Search teams found her kayak, undamaged, floating in shallow water approximately 6 miles from where she had launched. No sign of struggle, no evidence of wildlife attack, no body. The official conclusion was accidental drowning, same as Pierre Arsenault, the same as at least 6 other people who have disappeared in Louisiana's bayous under similar circumstances in the past decade alone. Drowning victims are usually found. These are not. 6 mysteries. 6 layers of impossibility hidden in the dark water and Spanish moss. Equipment that fails without explanation. Creatures that should not exist. Stone structures older than any known civilization. Lights that follow you. Voices in the night. And people who go looking for answers and simply vanish. The bayous remember what we have forgotten. They keep secrets in their depths that predate every human culture that ever lived here. And sometimes, when the conditions are right, when the water drops, or the lights appear, or the drumming starts, they remind us that we are not alone in these swamps. We never have been. If you have made it this far, thank you for joining me in these dark waters. Leave a like if any of these mysteries stayed with you. Tell me in the comments which one haunts you most, and whether you think Louisiana's bayous will ever give up their secrets. But remember, some places do not want to be understood. Some mysteries protect themselves, and the bayou keeps what it takes.